What did we learn on Twitter this week? You're about to find out. I'm Mark Alves, and let's get started. So this week on Twitter, found this great handle at Mama Fizzles, and very entertaining poster. And she also did something really interesting with her bio. Now, if you take a look here, you'll see she's linked in her bio to a Twitter search, and that's where search is her handle. It's from Mama Fizzles. You can actually leave off the @ sign. And what Twitter does is pulls up your best performing tweets. So your top one here, 280 likes, 94 retweets, and then 58 likes, 152 likes. And these are whatever days it happens. So it's not necessarily your most recent ones, but it's a mix, and it's your best ones. So you might want to try that for your profile. You can keep a pinned tweet at the top of your timeline, but you might want to try this if you've got a lot of good tweets and you don't want to have to worry about having to update that each time. Twitter will do that for you. I also learned a Twitter tip that you can use in the flesh. Maybe you're meeting with someone whose name you should know, but you can't remember it. Ask what their Twitter handle is. Even if it's their name, they'll tell you, and then now you'll know their name. Or later you can look up their Twitter handle that they gave you and find out their name. We also learned that Trump has one application on his phone, and it's Twitter. Well, I've got more than one on my phone. So would this be a good commercial for Twitter? I'm not so sure. @Jerry suggested another one. Hey, do you love wasting time and also getting angry? We see a lot of that on Twitter. But there's also some good that can come out of Twitter, even in tough times. After the Manchester attack, someone was able to track down a friend of theirs through Twitter, even though their friend's phone had died. So we'll try to remember the positive amongst the negative that we could find on Twitter. Now let's look at some of the changes Twitter announced this week. They are introducing direct messages, a twist on direct messages that brands can use. In the example they give here, a tequila company lets you choose from some direct messages that you can send to them, and in reply they'll send you tequila recipes. Now this is kind of a twist on what usually happens. Usually the tequila comes out and then the embarrassing DMs begin. This explains why Dustin Stout was so upset of Twitter removing the option to mark all your DMs as read. Well, if we're going to charge brands for you to be able to read DMs, they don't want you marking them all as unread. We also learned this week that Twitter has added a live 360 video capability to its app on Apple TV. And in an interview with Twitter CEO, we learned some more about machine learning. And a key takeaway is that Jack Dorsey says the news of the day is Twitter's singular job. So focus on what's happening now, what's happening live. So as you think about your Twitter content, keep that in mind. Twitter's hired a new global head of live business to do just that. Twitter also added lettuce and tomato to the hamburger emoji. You're only going to find these on the web version of Twitter for now. They'll be rolling out across all the apps later in the year, but you can get a sneak preview of that new and improved hamburger along with these other new emojis. Twitter also said at a stockholder meeting it kicked around the idea of charging a premium for its service, but they want to keep it free for everyone for now. I wouldn't be surprised if they roll out some separate premium services, such as around analytics, down the road. Twitter also discussed that user co-op idea that we talked about a couple of videos ago, where a group of users want to buy Twitter outright. They turned that down, but that sign of having a group of passionate Twitter users out there is important, and I think we'll hear more from them in the future. Ev is returning to Twitter, and in a profile in the New York Times, he talked about the challenge that Twitter and the internet face. Gave the analogy, if you're driving down the road, see a car crash, you can't but help and stop and look. Same thing happens on Twitter and on the internet. Something bad happens and people stop and look. So Twitter and the internet have responded with more car crashes, more carnage for you to look at. So Ev's going to try to fix that. I wish him well, and I'm hoping we can all do our part to try to post positive info. To help us do that, keep this in mind. A relationship often begins with a simple retweet. So what are you sharing and what are you retweeting this week? Think of how you can add to a positive story on Twitter. I'm at Mark Alves on Twitter. Thanks for tuning in. If you check out my bio, you won't find a link that points to all my tweets, but you'll find a collection of the tweets that we shared in this video and some others, so you can keep up on the latest news and tips for getting more out of Twitter. Thanks, and see you on Twitter.